Kayla Alysha film 14411054.
Marco Alva 16411027.
Angjaya 1641052.
Speech Act. Speech act is defined as an utterance that serves a function in communication. It can be performed as an apology, complaint, request, refusal, etc. The term is first introduced by Austin in 1962. However, later in 1969, it was developed by SEARLE. The term speech act, as already stated before, is introduced by a linguistic philosopher named John Langshaw Austin, or commonly known as J.L. Austin, in 1962. He said, when a speaker utters something, they can perform 3 acts altogether. These acts are locutionary, illocutionary, and perlocutionary. Locutionary is the act of saying something, when illocutionary is what is performed in saying something, and perlocutionary is what is performed by saying something, or in other words, the consequences of saying something. Now let's take a look at the example. There is a mom saying to her son, "I've just made some cakes." So, the illocutionary act is the act of saying that you had just made a cake. Next, illocutionary act is the act of inviting the hearer or her son to taste the cake. And finally, the perlocutionary act, or the reaction by hearing the words, is that the son tastes the cake. Moving on to the next speech act theory, in 1969, Austin's speech act theory was developed further. It was by an American linguist philosopher, John Searle. He classifies the illocutionary act into 5 kinds. There are declaratives, assertives, commissives, directives, and expressives.
Declarative, according to Searle, is statements that, through their utterance, perform an act. It also changes the world through the utterances. There are certain verbs that can signal a declarative. Those are fire, pronounce, appoint, confirm, and declare. Now take a look at the example of a boss yelling to his employee, "You are fired." What is meant by changing the world is, we know by uttering such words, it affects the employee's condition, that he is no longer employed. Assertive is statements that can be categorized as true or false. Sometimes an assertive statement is signaled by some verbs, like assert, claim, affirm, assure, inform, predict, believe, suggest, and insist. The example is, Trump is the President of the United States. We all know that this is a fact, and it can be categorized as true or false. Commissive is defined as statements whose point is to commit the speaker to some future actions. The function is to express the speaker's intentions, such as promising, threatening, offering, etc. Thus, the verbs related are promise, swear, refuse, and pledge. Now take a look at the example of a leader promising people that they will receive more funding next year. By saying so, it requires the speaker to do action, which is giving funds next year. Next is directive. While commissive causes speaker to commit future action, in directives, it is the hearer who has to perform certain actions. Now take a look at the example of a police commanding the suspect to freeze. By saying so, it's clear that the suspect is the one who needs to perform an action. The last one is expressive, or statements which express the psychological state of the speakers. It can be expressions of joy, sorrow, and expressions of thanking, congratulating, etc. Although not always explicitly mentioned, but sometimes expressive utterance is signaled by some verbs, like apologize, thank, praise, and protest. The example of expressive is the speaker saying, "I hate bills," which show what he feels through the utterance. Felicity conditions. Indicators whether speech acts are performed successfully. It is successful if it meets several parameters.
Felicity condition by SEARLE 1669. Preparatory condition. The person performing the speech act has the authority to do so. Condition on the manner of execution. Speech act executed in correct manner. Sincerity condition. The speakers mean what they say. Example of analysis. A priest said, I now pronounce your husband and wife. Analysis. The locutionary act is the word uttered, which is I now pronounce you husband and wife. Next, the category of illocutionary act is declaratives, as the words themselves perform an act of pronouncement of marriage. From the utterance, it leads to the result of the words, which is known as perlocutionary effect. The perlocution is that both the the man and the woman are officially a husband and wife. The speech act is felicitous because it fulfills all the three conditions. The priest as the speaker has an authority to declare the marriage status. It is executed in right manner because the speech act is done in a wedding ceremony, and hence we can conclude that the priest intends what he says. Next is the references.